Hello, hello. Welcome to another Umineko stream that started off with multiple technical issues, including my own stupidity. Because I didn't unmute myself. Thank you for letting me know, because I would not have noticed that by myself. I really appreciate it. So last week, I had an ear infection, wasn't feeling too good, kind of sitting around like a zombie. And I thought, you know what, I'll just wait until I don't feel like a zombie anymore before I stream again. And yeah, very good call, because now I have energy to, you know, that it'll all go into reading this story for you. And yeah. It's gonna be a good one, I hope. I think. Stupidity is cool, it's true. What's also cool is content warnings. And we have one of those. Content warning for this arc of the story. Character deaths. Detailed descriptions of gore and body horror. Child abuse. Discussion and mentions of suicide and misogyny. So keep that in mind. And if that's not your jam, then that's totally okay. Look after yourself first and foremost. And it was my body telling me I needed a break. Hey Kat, thank you for the 4 months already, jeez. Welcome, welcome, how are you doing? Okay. Let's load up our save. And then I'll tell you what happened last time. Oh, I love this song. Battler will tell you what happened last time. What happened last time is we solved the epitaph. And if you recall, every time that money comes into the picture with the adults, things get a little intense. And yeah, the butterfly is still there. Thank you for reminding me to save. I'll drink some water in a bit as compensation for the channel points. But yeah, the adults and money, it's not a good mix. So Battler's just been through, you know, seeing his parents at their worst to a degree, because they've been worse, but you know, being just everyone, his entire family, all the adults, the people he should trust, just being greedy bastards, basically. Fighting, that sort of thing. It's been a long night for Battler. And let's not forget that Erica's there too. Who really kind of set this whole thing in motion, right? And is a piece that Burncastle placed on the board as the new detective. And yeah, that's where we're at. Alright Lulu, I hope you have a great day at IKEA, and just a great day in general, and enjoy. Thank you for dropping by. And with that, yeah, the epitaph is solved. That's it. Alright, thank you for the reminders. I will make sure to drink some fresh agua. I'm gonna need it. We solved the epitaph. Just like you wanted. When you were the game master, we'd always get those letters. Try and solve the epitaph. If you don't, I'll kill you all. Why did she want to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph? By solving it, we found a mountain of gold. Yippee for us. And what about Beato? Does she gain anything by having us find the gold? Or does she lose something? As far as chessboard thinking tells us, people don't make moves which cause them to lose something. That means you must have something to gain by having us solve the epitaph. No. This child has nothing to gain from having someone solve the epitaph. Are you sure that's alright? Using the red truth like that without her permission? It is what she would want. Virgilia, who had suddenly appeared there, gave me an immediate answer to my question with the red truth. In the past, I sometimes guessed that the reason Beato was trying to make us solve the epitaph was that she wanted to make us find the gold's hiding place for her so that she could snatch it away. Is that wrong too? Yes. In the first place, the gold of the Golden Land belongs to her from the start. She has absolutely no need to make anyone find it for her, or to snatch it away herself. Of course. Beato is Beatrice the Golden. She's the master of the Golden Land, and the Ushinomiya family alchemist. That makes total sense. However, if that's true, that makes me even more confused. Even if someone exposes the answer to the epitaph's riddle, Beato gains nothing. No, to the contrary, she might get her own gold stolen away. In that case, I'm understanding this less and less. I understand the epitaph murders. It could be revenge against the Ushinomiya family, or else a ritual to revive her powers as a witch. She's probably got some reason or goal of her own for it. But what's the point of her telling us to solve the epitaph? Whether we solve it or not, she gains nothing. In other words, the whole issue of whether the epitaph is solved or not is immaterial in Beato's eyes. You could say that. Whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, she has nothing at all to gain from it. It doesn't matter whether it's solved or not. Doesn't that mean that the epitaph's riddle itself has no value to Beato? I suppose. The epitaph's riddle doesn't have any meaning for her. So even if you take the extreme position that it's immaterial and has no value, it may not be possible to argue against your claim. Beato, why are you making us solve the riddle of the epitaph? If we liken the witch you are to a pair of scales, the epitaph murders lie on one plate, and the riddle of the epitaph lies on the other plate. Because she's saying that she'll stop the epitaph murders if the epitaph is solved. In other words, the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle are worth the same to Beato. Like two sides on a balanced scale. That means that the epitaph's riddle and massacring the entire family have equal significance from Beato's point of view. But Virgilia responded with the red text. Regardless of whether the epitaph is solved or not, Beato has nothing to gain. If she has nothing to gain, then this epitaph's riddle is meaningless and immaterial to Beato. In that case, how much are the epitaph murders, which lie on the other side of the scales and are equal to the epitaph's riddle in value, worth to her? Think. Don't stop thinking. The epitaph murders and solving the riddle of the epitaph have equal worth. As long as the epitaph murders, which are Beato's goal each time, have the single way that they can be stopped, a way that she decided on herself, both are worth the same thing to her. X equals Y. And whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, Beato gains nothing. Y equals 0. So in this case, what is X? Wait a sec. That means the epitaph murders are also meaningless and immaterial. Beginning with politely sending us an advance notice, she's been willing to spend an incredible amount of effort killing us one by one, following the epitaph's steps in order, without getting exposed, every time she performs that bizarre serial murder. So all of that is meaningless to her? I flipped over the chessboard many times, exploring Beato's moves. This was always the first place I stumbled. The significance of the epitaph murders. Why did she have to commit serial murders in a way that reproduced the witch's epitaph? If she wanted to kill the whole Ushinomiya family for revenge, it would be much simpler, safer, and more reliable if she just put poison into their dinner. Or else went around killing people one by one in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. However, on the first evening, Beato sends us a letter that sounds like an advance notice, and then carries out what could be broadly described as a 3-part serial murder, killing 6 people in the first twilight, 2 on the second, and 5 on the fourth and later. We aren't fools. Once the first murders occur, we barricade ourselves in somewhere to stave off any further murders. Furthermore, we quickly suspect a culprit among us and start analyzing each other's alibis. As the victims increase, the number of suspects decreases automatically, and Beato's chances of completing the serial murder drop closer and closer to 0. Everything about the epitaph murders is full of useless ornament and empty decoration. That only seems to make it harder for her to carry out the serial murder. She's raising the difficulty of completing her own objective. That does follow. She's a strange child, isn't she? Did you know? In mystery novels, there are sometimes murders that follow the events of a poem or nursery rhyme, just like these epitaph murders. I think you can split the reason these nursery rhyme murders occur into 3 major groups. And what are those? The first would be when it benefits the culprit to follow the epitaph and thereby confuse the evidence and alibis. The classic technique of pretending to be dead and mixing yourself in with the victims is an example of this, as is committing the murders in an order that doesn't follow the epitaph, so that you can cause the others to mistake the order and give yourself an alibi. I see. So she could make it look as though she was carrying out the murders in accordance with the epitaph, when she was actually guiding everyone's thinking in a manner that benefited her. That sounds interesting. However, in our games, the dead are truly down for the count thanks to the red. She might be able to trick everyone in the world with the game board, but she can't trick us up here in the same way. In other words, the most traditional purpose for this kind of murder isn't what we're dealing with here. In that case, what are the other 2 reasons for carrying out a nursery rhyme murder? One is coincidence. The culprit carries out a serial murder which just happens to look similar to the epitaph without being intended to, and the witnesses mistakenly think it's a nursery rhyme murder. We humans try to find cause and effect in everything we see. If we think we know what something is, then that's how it looks to us. I see. That's also interesting. However, I'm not sure it's convincing. In this child's games, there's always an advance notice of the crime given before the murders of the first twilight. Also, I believe you can find letters and circumstantial evidence one after another that clearly show the culprit is carrying out epitaph murders. Yeah, that's right. It isn't coincidence. From the very beginning, Beato has been intentionally shoving the epitaph murders in our faces as she carries them out. We aren't just misunderstanding. These murders clearly follow the epitaph. So this can't be the reason either. In that case, it must be our final reason. The last one is to show the murders to someone. In other words, to make them feel fear. By following the epitaph, she gives the others clear notice in advance that the murders will continue. The survivors are in constant fear of the murders, which they're certain will continue. In other words, this child performed these epitaph murders to create a feeling of mortal terror. At least, putting it that way, everything makes a surprising amount of sense. The grotesque mutilation of the bodies and the disturbing displays were all a show to terrify us. To terrify whom? Huh? Like I said, us. After hearing that one line Virgilia spoke so casually, my thoughts clouded over once again. Is it really enough to just use the vague word us? There are a lot of people in the Ushiromiya family. There's the head and the one who holds the rank of his successor, grandfather and Uncle Kraus. Our parents who have some pull in the business world. On the other side, you have the young cousins, who usually visit at most once a year, and the unfortunate servants who just happen to be on duty. Even if the culprit hated all of us, they probably didn't hate all of us equally. In other words, they might have made it clear which of those among us they particularly wanted to take revenge against and terrify. If we liken this to a kid eating dessert, isn't the strawberry on top of the shortcake the part you should eat last? No one tells you that you shouldn't eat it first, but our mentality leads us into saving it for later. In that case, the culprit would want to leave the person they hated most until the end. Yeah, similar to what was said by my favorite character in this novel I like. Something about how if you start by killing the people closest to someone, make them feel that sadness, then kill that person last of all. That's the worst way to kill someone. Oh my, that must have been quite a terrifying novel. How frightening. In that case, you could argue that the people who stay alive until the end are the ones Beato hates the most. But the order people are killed in gets totally changed every single time. I mean, we all die in the end. But if you go through looking for someone who lives at least until the last twilight every time, there's only me. Let me first speak with the red. Balakun, you are not the culprit. You haven't killed anyone. This can be said of all games. Then that just makes it even more likely that it's about me. It means the sole reason she had for bringing about the epitaph murders was to show them to me. Beato's always making out that she chooses who to kill next by roulette. But I'm an exception. The only exception. Though she does kill me in the end, she always leaves me be until the very last moment. In all of these supposedly random games, there's only this one unchanging constant. She wants revenge against me. So is she performing the epitaph murders to make me feel fear? That's wrong. Her goal is not to make someone experience fear. And it isn't to have revenge on someone either. In that case, that means the epitaph murders really don't mean anything to her. The riddle of the epitaph is meaningless, and the corresponding epitaph murders are also meaningless. X equals Y equals 0. But even so, she's clearly trying to show these meaningless things to me. What could she want from me, which is worth the same to her as something meaningless? I don't get it. The more I think about it, the less I understand what she's thinking. Beatrice, the fickle witch who committed a meaningless, worthless serial murder. Even the riddle of the epitaph, which she made into a condition to suspend the serial murders, is meaningless, immaterial. And She's thrusting this meaningless, immaterial thing in front of my face. What is it that you want from me? Or else, what is it that you want to give me? My idea that Beato must have been taking revenge on me has already been refuted in red by Virgilia. Both X and Y, both the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle, mean nothing to Beato. X equals Y equals 0. However, since she's thrusting that in front of me, it must have some meaning. She presents us a pair of scales representing, if you don't solve the epitaph, I'll carry out the epitaph murders. Neither the epitaph murders nor the epitaph's riddle have any significance by themselves. However, it becomes meaningful when she puts both halves on the scales and thrusts it out before us. No, before me. In other words, it should be like this. X equals 0. Y equals 0. X plus Y equals more than 0. A scale with meaningless, weightless things on both sides. However, it is weight itself and gives the rest meaning. It's almost like playing. Like kids playing rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is the most immediate method of randomly determining a winner and a loser. You usually bet on some sort of privilege on the outcome. But kids often do rock, paper, scissors just to play, without betting anything in particular. Unless you bet something, nothing but a feeling of joy or disappointment will come from a win or a loss. In other words, the two sides of the scale, winning and losing, are both valueless. However, the very act of seeing which way it will tip is the reason kids play rock, paper, scissors. After all, the kids are enjoying the communication that surrounds the game, and they aren't purely interested in the value of winning or losing. They aren't overly concerned about who wins and who loses. That would mean that it doesn't matter to Beato whether the epitaph murders succeed or not. It almost feels like she's just enjoying the process. In the past, I would have cursed her, deciding that she was a heartless witch who kept murdering people for no reason. But now I can't imagine that's true. Thank you. In that case, I'll give you one more red. Beato never committed murder for the sake of pleasure. She didn't do it for pleasure, and she didn't do it to make anyone feel fear. She has nothing to gain from the epitaph murders, and she doesn't care whether they succeed or fail. It's almost like a random game kids would play. No, it must have meaning. To her. And what is this meaning? I don't know. Even though neither side of the scale has any value, the scale itself has some weight to it in her eyes. Of course it isn't meaningless. Some meaning definitely exists. In the previous game, she urged me to remember my sin of 6 years ago. Was that meaningless too? No. There's no way that's the case. I clearly remember the serious look in her eyes at that moment. Unfortunately, I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. And she was devastated. That's right. At that time, I'm sure she even went so far as to say that the crime wouldn't have occurred if I hadn't come. There is a meaning to her. And she wants me to provide it. I laughed softly and poked Beato lightly on the head, then patted her head. Next time you want to send a love letter, I suggest that you just write, "I love you." If you make it too roundabout and confusing, no one's going to be able to figure it out. I still don't have a clue what she's thinking. but even so, I won't stop thinking. I've only just started flipping over the chessboard. I definitely won't give up on this journey through your thoughts. Well, that was cute in the end. There we go, drink some water. Right when the water is coming down from the sky. Because of the giant fucking typhoon. Okay, one sec. Real quick. Okay. Battler did nothing but gaze lazily out the window. The fighting between the relatives continued without end. At first, the relatives had crowded around the study. However, no matter how much they knocked, the master of the study did not answer even once. Eva and several others said they should open the door with the second key, the one Genji held. However, in a flash of brilliance, Natsuhi said that Kinzo had been in a particularly bad mood and had taken back the key he'd previously given Genji, meaning that he now had both keys himself. She claimed that it was therefore impossible for them to open the door. After she promised to let them meet Kinzo tomorrow morning no matter what, they finally returned to the dining hall. But, of course, the argument continued on even after they returned there. Ava's group wanted a lot of cash very soon, and they were trying to threaten Kraus somehow and make him pay up. Apparently, Balor's solving of the epitaph, which threatened Kraus's position as the next head, had given the others a huge tailwind. On the other side, Kraus and Natsuhi denied the very basis of their argument, claiming that it had never been specified that ownership of the gold would be handed over to the person who solved the epitaph. They asserted that it hadn't been hidden gold, but just Kinzo's stockpile. And it was still Kinzo's property, which meant it was only natural for it to be distributed after Kinzo's death with the rest of the inheritance. After hearing this, Ava's group once again started demanding that they be allowed to see Kinzo. It had probably been clear as day from the beginning. This sibling fight could only be settled by Kinzo. It was obvious that this confrontation was between Ava's group, which wanted cash fast, and Kraus, who was hiding his lack of funds but still didn't need money right away. As Battler listened vaguely to this exchange, he marveled at how, despite their usual affluent airs, they were all surprisingly deep in debt. Didn't you already say that a short while ago? That's enough. Let's take a break. We're all repeating the same things over and over again. According to the clock, it was almost midnight. It certainly was a perfect time for a break. The atmosphere relaxed just a bit. I agree. It'd do both sides some good to take a breather. Listen, why don't we take a record down for the rest? I've had enough of fighting over what was or wasn't said. Seriously. We really can't do without a record of proceedings, not when Nissan can so easily deny something he'd said before the words stopped bouncing off the walls. With a written record, just writing it would be a pain, and it'd be open to forgery. Right. Aniki, does this thing work? With the tape set? I see. This way we can keep a record without bothering to write it down, and forgery will be impossible. It's fair for both sides.
Make sure you don't mess anything up.
Those are Father's precious music tapes. The dignified tapeset had a sense of weight to it which matched this majestic dining hall perfectly. On pleasant Sunday mornings, it would sometimes be used to play famous tapes or records. However, right now, it was the most neutral and impartial conference record keeper around. Rudolph fished randomly around the cassette rack, searching for a blank tape. And every time he found some tape with sophisticated music, he would chuckle at how pompous it was. Excuse me. You called? We're taking a break. Sorry, but could you make us something to drink? And maybe some biscuits would be nice too. Certainly. I will prepare it right away. Also, sorry. Do you have any cold medicine? I've been feeling a bit feverish. Then don't overstrain yourself. Get some sleep. If you really feel like it, why not get some sleep, Rosa? Though I wouldn't step out of such an important conference because of a simple cold. Really? I would excuse myself without hesitation. Natsuhi, why don't we take a short rest too? Yes, dear. Sensing that he meant to have a strategy meeting, Natsuhi stood up. Even if that wasn't the case, she was so desperate to get out of the room even for a moment that she'd have taken any excuse. Kraus and Natsuhi left the dining hall, and the tension in the room truly relaxed. Phew. You've been doing great, Bentley-kun. I imagine you feel just horrible. Think of this as part of growing up and just accept it. Just how long am I going to have to sit around doing nothing here? Who knows? After all, you're like our personal donation box. Sleepy? About the same as Japanese lit class. I'm pretty sure Father won't show up tonight anyway. When Kraus-Nissan and the rest come back, I'll propose that we might as well let you go. I'd appreciate that. Tap tap. A light knock and the faint sound of china clinking together could be heard. Excuse us. We've brought tea. Shannon and Kanona come by with a serving cart. The pleasant smell of black tea relieved their tension all the more. Hey, did you hear? What are you talking about? We didn't hear anything. Stop it, Rudolph. There's no reason to tell them. We are furniture, so we have no interest in the family conference. I see. That's a wise answer. You have the midnight shift. That must be tough. That is our job. We would be happy to receive your orders. You could be right there. It'd probably be even more tiresome to sit around awake doing nothing. When I was still down on the bottom rungs, I once worked as a warehouse keeper. Even if you're just staying awake, it's still pretty tough. Right after the war, you had robbers all over the place. Plus, you couldn't rely on the police back then, so it was a pretty dangerous time. Hideyoshi was particularly proud of how he had started with nothing and built up assets by diverting goods from the American army. Once the subject came up, Hideyoshi tended to get pretty talkative. The relatives knew this and were greatly relieved to see that a perfect sacrifice had come up. If you got found out, you were in for it big time. Those Yanks are scary. Their strength's in another league because of all of that beef they eat. Get caught and that'd be the end of ya. Firing squad or death by hanging. You know that one? Death by hanging. Just to be clear, when he says that, he says that in English instead of Japanese. That's why he's repeating it. Oh yeah, and then I figured it out. It's all about the meat. The meat? Japanese people have gotta eat more meat. And that's when I had the revelation. I had to start up a business to capture people's stomachs. I see. That must have been quite a difficult task. Stop it, darling. No matter how much you tell people born after the war, they'll never understand how hard it was back then. Whoops. Looks like my bad habits jumped out again. Sorry. Yeah, every time it's in brackets, that means it's English. So when Aja says, see you again, and when Erika says good, that's in English. But if I were to pronounce that the way that it's pronounced in, say, the anime and stuff, I'm just gonna sound like I'm mocking people, so I'm just gonna read normally. But I'll try to clarify here and there. You two should have some tea as well. I think it might help you if once in a while you used your own mouths to learn more about the tea you're brewing. No, we'll be fine. There's no need to be concerned for our sakes. Hang out with us for a bit. Being surrounded by only adults makes me feel like I'm gonna suffocate. You hear that? Oh my god, Rudolph. That's an order from Battler-sama, successor to the head. Sit over there and have some tea with us. I forgot how to do his voice. And tell us what's been going on recently. Your hobbies, TV shows you're watching, and whatever it is that's popular with young folks these days. There's a lot we could learn. That's a brilliant idea. Come on, sit down, both of you. And become our sacrifices now that we're starved of things to talk about. That's right. The only way I'm getting to talk to young folk at this age is going to a cabaret club. How long are you planning on standing around there? Rudolph told you to sit. Go on, sit down. I give you permission as well. After getting Ava's permission, Shannon and Conan looked at each other and finally obeyed, nervously. For a while, the two were pounded by questions and became the relatives' playthings. Tap tap. Another reserved knock could be heard. All of the servants tended to knock in a similar manner, so no one noticed anything strange. However, Shannon and Conan turned around with surprised looks on their faces. The servants here today included the two of them, Genji, Kumasawa, and Goda. Goda had the midnight shift at the guest house. Kumasawa had gone to bed in the servants' quarters in the guest house. And they were in here, so Genji was the only person left. But they knew very well that Genji wouldn't knock like that. Who is it? It's not locked, just come in. Rudolph didn't recognize the knock either. And when he asked who is it, everyone came to the same realization that they too had no idea who would knock like that. After that, the same knock repeated just once more. Could it be that someone had their hands full and was asking that the door be opened for them? As a slightly odd feeling began to encompass the room, the sound of the large clock in the hall could be heard. It was the sign that October 4th had ended and October 5th had begun. A short while earlier, Kraus and Natsuhi were well away from the dining hall, in a deserted corridor on the second floor. So we no longer have any other options. Yes. I do not think the same trick will work again tomorrow. If we hesitate any longer, there's a chance that Eva-san and the others will claim that we have father locked up and call the police. This is as far as we can go. Battler confining the gold was completely unexpected. If only that hadn't happened, I thought of a plan which might have managed to get us through this somehow. Just like every other bet I've made. Something unexpected always arises, and the guaranteed outcome is thrown off course. We'll have Father's room be empty starting tomorrow morning. Let's plan it out with Genji and have him say that he saw Father heading out into the forest early in the morning. I doubt Ava and the others will swallow that story of his disappearance. I'm fully aware of that. However, we have no other options. If we do such a thing, Ava and the others will doubtless make a fuss about it being suspicious. They aren't worried about appearances as long as they can squeeze some money out of us. They might strike a deal with some odd magazine and cause serious damage to the confidence placed in me. We can live with damage. If by any chance Father's secret is discovered, it won't be a matter of mere damage. There's nothing wrong with persisting until the last second tomorrow. If we're able to make it through safely, we won't have to lose anything. There's no need to get impatient and use up our trump card. You want to wait until after they start accusing us of locking Father up, and then reply that he's gone missing. That is far more likely to draw suspicion. Oh, hey Chris, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Let's just put Father to rest now. To go any further would be impossible. Calm yourself. You've just had too much exposure to the toxin from Ava and the others, and have lost your composure. Only 2 keys exist which can let anyone into that study, and you have both of them right here. That means no one can go inside. That door is of a very special make. No matter what kind of tools they bring out of the storehouse, it won't even budge. It isn't a physical problem like that. Look, stop panicking. Settle down. If you like, you can pretend to have gotten a fever and stay in bed. In the meantime, I will overcome all of this. Holy... Kraus, please. Yeah, I'm doing alright. And, yeah, hope you're doing good. Thank you for hanging out. Kraus is a idiot. My god, what an idiot. His wife does all the work and he's like, I will handle this. I'm just... I barely know what's going on. I'll handle it. Ugh. I can't leave everything to you. I'll fight until the end too. When Natsuhi could no longer hold back the tears brought on by her fierce emotions, Kraus held her gently. Just how long had it been since she last felt warmth from her husband's embrace? Your headache is killing you, isn't it? Whenever you get those creases between your eyebrows, I can tell. Dear. She had come to think that her husband could never understand the way she felt. But when it came to times like this, girl, please. I'm not sure that... we can talk about that another time. Cat, the thing is, I don't think he can handle this either. You just... He has a very... he has a lot of misplaced confidence. Let's just put it that way. Let's wait for the very last moment before using our disappearance trump card. It's like a last resort treasured sword. It's best when it remains in its sheath. The important thing is being ready to pull it out at any time. Wouldn't you agree? I understand that. Why don't you leave that trump card with me? Because you're incompetent. Of course, at the final moment, I will take all of the responsibility. I won't get you and Jessica involved. What do you mean by that? If the Ushiromiya family is destroyed, it is enough that I alone am crushed under the rubble. After the typhoon passes, I will prepare divorce forms. I will sign the papers for you to keep and use when you please. I have some assets hidden away in your name. What? I forgot about this. Add on the settlement and it should be enough for you and Jessica to live in comfort. No. Ushinomiya Natsuhi is the name that should be engraved on my tombstone. Please, let me be with you until the last moment. Even if it turns out that you are the last head of the Ushinomiya family. Please, let Natsuhi be the name of his wife. Your wife. Krause's existence was based solely upon the power of his assets and his trustworthiness as a financial fixer. If those were both undermined, nothing would remain. Using the trump card of Kinzo's disappearance would mean losing one of these two essential supports. It was like offering your right arm to save your head from being cut off. It was probably better than losing your head, but you still might die from the blood loss. And even on the off chance that you did survive, you would have to bear a heavy wound that wouldn't heal for the rest of your life. Krause was prepared even for death. Natsuhi understood this, buried her face in Krause's chest, and cried. My apologies for interrupting. Genji's sudden voice made Natsuhi jump back and hurriedly wipe the tears from her eyes. Krause stood in front of Natsuhi, shielding her. Genji-san, please don't sneak up on us. Do you have some business? Yes. My apologies, but I have something to report to Madam. To me? Dear. I don't mind. Krause left Natsuhi's side, went to a window a short way off, and gazed at the windy and rainy rose garden. Natsuhi went with Genji to a place a short distance away. What is it? Well, the truth is, another phone call has come for you, Madam. And on that bombshell, I will save. Thank you, Lulu. And have a great time at IKEA. Also, I'm gonna just drink some water real quick. Since I said I would. And also because thirsty. At that moment, she was surprised by a sudden, eerie sound. It was a large clock in the hall announcing midnight. You don't mean that man again? Yes. What is to be done? Did he say what business he had with me? He would not answer. He kept insisting that he wanted to speak to you directly. Again, a phone call from the man who claimed to be taking revenge for what had happened 19 years ago. 19 years ago. That was just 1 year before Jessica and Badler were born. In Natsuhi's eyes, the gap between 19 years ago and 18 years ago was immense. For a long time, she was unable to fulfill her role of creating a successor for the Ushinomiya family, and was treated very coldly. But then, she finally gave birth to Jessica, and became able to call herself the wife to the Ushinomiya successor with her head held high. So in her eyes, Ushinomiya Natsuhi began 18 years ago. So everything before that, including 19 years ago, contained nothing but hateful memories. The last year of that hateful period was whispering of revenge from the other end of the phone. Once again, she heard the roar of the sea. What is to be done? Transfer it to my room. Don't let my husband know. As your wish. From the very beginning, Genji had understood that she wouldn't want Krause hearing about this phone call. That was why he had told Natsuhi covertly. Natsuhi ordered that he transfer the call, told Krause that she would turn in for the night, and left at a quick pace. She returned to her room and locked the door. There's nothing peculiar about that. In the Ushinomiya family, hallways are like public roads. There's no special meaning in locking the door when you enter your own room. This is what she told herself. Then, as though it had been waiting for her, the telephone rang. Genji must have transferred the call. She took a deep breath, readied herself, and picked up the receiver. Hello? Again, it started with silence. She realized the person at the other end was trying to keep her in suspense and make her feel uncomfortable, and she got angry. Why are you silent? I'm hanging up. Don't hang up, Mother. I want to hear your voice a little longer. Again, that unpleasant voice. Are you trying to mock me? State your business. I want to play with you, Mother. What? What are you talking about? I have no desire to play with you. You're tired from the family conference, right? I'll bet that chronic headache of yours is giving you a bad time. That's none of your business. Just the fact that he knew her headache was troubling her made a shiver run up her spine. You get headaches because your head's all stiff. You won't have pleasant dreams if you go straight to bed like that. Haven't I told you that that's none of your business? I'm hanging up. Natsuhi forcefully yelled that she was hanging up, but in actuality, she couldn't. After all, this person was choosing to call her, and that was much better than the alternative. If she hung up violently, this person might choose to call someone else. Let's play a bit to help you relax. Don't worry, I won't take up much of your time. I have no intention of playing with you. Your name is Natsuhi, Mother. It has a kanji for a season in it. Pretty nice name. However, just because your name is Natsuhi, that doesn't necessarily mean that you like summer. Which season is your real favorite, Mother? You think I'll tell you? If you don't, I'll hang up. Are you sure you want that? It was clearly a threat. It meant that if she forced him to hang up the phone, anything might happen. Humiliated that she was forced to give in to a threat made by a man whose name she didn't even know, she gave him the answer he wanted. It's autumn. Why? Because it's an easy season to pass the time in. There's no other reason in particular. Are you satisfied now? Yeah, I'm satisfied. It looks like your favorite season really is the same as mine. I like the fall too. Liar. You just made that up. This man would no doubt have done the same thing no matter which season I said I liked. What is he after? What's so fun about making me uncomfortable like this? It's not nice to call someone a liar. I didn't make it up. I was already certain that you liked the fall, Mother. I can even show you proof. Proof? Yeah. Is there a clock in your room, Mother? A clock? Yes, there is, but what's your point? In Natsuhi's room, there was a beautiful antique clock with an intricate design. Kraus had bought it for her as a birthday present long ago. It's 7 minutes past midnight right now. I'm tired, so please get this farce over with quickly. Try lifting the clock up. Why? You just don't know when to shut up. Stop resisting every single time I say something. Just shut up and do what I say. The tone of the man's voice suddenly went low, turning into a threat. It indicated clear displeasure. Outwardly, this man had a calm manner of speaking, but on the inside, things were completely different. If she angered this man even the slightest bit further, he would surely show his true nature right away. Are you really that eager to make me hang up? You'd better start realizing how lucky you are that I'm talking on the phone with you right now. I can tell your husband and daughter about what happened 19 years ago anytime I want to. I don't know what you're talking about, but please don't get my husband and daughter involved. I'm listening to everything you say. Then do what you're goddamn told. Once again, the man threatened me in a low voice, as though warning me never to talk back to him again. My head was filled with the pain from my headache, the sound of my beating heart, and the roar of the sea. I couldn't disobey him anymore. As the man had ordered, I lifted up the antique clock. Huh? There lay something that resembled a single playing card. Perhaps it was the warranty for the clock? Thinking this, she took it and turned it over. Are you wide awake now? Why is it this? Well, I'll be happy if your headache's gone down a bit. Tell me you're happy, Mother. How did you... Why? How? I want you to tell me you're happy, you murderer. How dare you act like a normal, neat freak mother? You make me want to vomit. Do you want some of it to land on your husband and daughter as well? You don't, do you? You want me to keep quiet, don't you? Yeah, I'll keep quiet. See? Aren't you happy? Aren't you happy? I'm happy. I'm happy. So please, stop. Don't burden my husband and daughter. What is it you want? Money? How much? I don't want money. My wounds couldn't be healed with any amount of money. But there is a medicine. Yes. It's like a kind of ointment. Thick, syrupy, and dribbling. And that is my hatred. My resentment towards you. Slathering myself with that is the only way to hold back the pain. Natsuhi had never had anything so hateful said to her in her entire life. So she suspected many times that she must be having some sort of bad dream. However, this definitely wasn't a dream. possibly be on this island right now, could you? I am. Didn't I promise you? I said I'd be at the family conference. That's impossible. There's no way you could have come during this typhoon. That's no problem if I came before the typhoon reached here. And I'm pretty sure this guest called Erika or whatever arrived even during the typhoon. Her blood froze. Furudo Erika had been brought here by coincidence. If you knew that name, you would have to be very close by. Where are you? I won't appear in front of anyone until you introduce me. Don't worry. Oh yeah, it's useless to try and search for me. Your mansion is huge, and you have phones all over the place. Besides, I'm sure you don't want to see me either, do you? Or are you offering to find me and introduce me to everyone? Introduce me to Jessica too. Tell her I'm her older brother by 1 year. Stop it. Stay away from Jessica. I guess I've scared you a bit too much. That's all from me for tonight. But don't forget, you cannot disobey me. Understand, Mother? Yes. I'm going to hang up for the night. But I have an order to be followed up until tomorrow morning. What is that? You may no longer leave that room tonight, and you may not make any phone calls. If the phone rings, you aren't allowed to pick it up either. And you will turn the lights off right now, get in bed, and sleep. Then you'll wake up at your ordinary time. It sure is nice to live a healthy life. I really am such a good son, working so hard for the sake of my mother's body. I understand. I'll sleep right now. I won't leave my room and I won't pick up the phone. So please, don't tell my husband and daughter. As long as you follow my orders, I'll keep your secret, Mother. Don't disobey me. I'm already very close by. I can easily tell whether you've turned your lights off and whether you're on the phone. If I wished to, I could even kiss your sleeping face. I'll keep it. I'll keep my promise. So just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. As she screamed, Natsuhi crushed the card she had found under the clock into a little ball. It had a pattern on it like a tarot card, along with one single word: autumn. Oh snap. We go back in time once again. The large clock in the hall was right in the middle of striking midnight. Wondering who the person who had now knocked twice was, the relatives in the dining hall stared at the door. Rudolph told them to come in, but there was no answer. Until the end of that long tone marking the coming of midnight, which had come from the large clock in the hall shortly after the knock, they were unable to move in the slightest. Maybe their hands are full and they can't open it. Maybe. But it's a little creepy that they won't say their name. Should I open it? Do it. Kano nodded back, then slowly opened the door. What's that? It's one of Dad's envelopes. Right behind the open door, on the floor of the hallway, lay the envelope. There's no one in the hallway. Perhaps they placed us here and left. The adults flew out into the corridor as well, but they could find no trace of anyone who might have knocked on the door. Barely an hour ago, Shannon and Kanon had come in to serve tea. At that time, everyone had seen that nothing lay in that spot. Someone came, knocked, left an envelope with the mark of the one-winged eagle on it, and left. Could it have been the master? It's not unthinkable. Father's pretty much the only person in this mansion who had refused to answer when asked who he was. That's not possible. If that's so, then why didn't Father come in here openly? That's right. Father would probably just come in here all of a sudden without knocking. The doors and windows of this mansion are locked now, right? In that case, the only people who could have left the letter there are Krao-san, Natsuhi-san, and Genji-san. By this point, the mansion had been completely locked up. Therefore, those in the guest house, the cousins, Nanjo, Goda, Kumasawa, and Erika, could not have come here. Furthermore, since Kraus, Natsuhi, and Genji were the only three who weren't in this room, one of those three had to have been the one who set that letter down in the corridor. In that case, it was very likely that Kraus and the others had placed the letter there to make it seem like a message from Kinzo. I see. It'll have something written on it which is supposedly in Father's name, saying that he won't accept Balor-kun as the next head, or something of the sort. Ridiculous. I can't believe you tried to pull such a childish trick, Nissan. It's not like I have any interest in being the next head. Give up. This is just your fate. Anyway, why don't we read what's inside? Rudolph set the letter on the dining hall table and showed everyone the front and back. Almost like a magician does before performing his act to show that there are no tricks or hidden mechanisms. This envelope is without a doubt Father's. Yes, there's no doubt. Father liked to use these envelopes for handwritten letters. What do you think, Shannon-chan? Yes. To my eyes as well, it looks like the type of envelope that the master uses. That doesn't mean that Father was the one who wrote it. It would be pitifully easy for Nissan to snatch one of these from a drawer in Father's study. Even Kraus-sama could not easily enter the study. It might be hard for him to steal an envelope. Let's try opening it. We can think about this later. There's something in it. I wonder what. Rudolph opened the envelope a bit roughly. Then, a folded letter and a glittering object fell out. It was a ring. Huh? Wait a second, that ring is... Ava noticed it immediately and grabbed it. This is... Father's ring. It's Dad's ring. What in the... Seriously? Are you sure it's Father's ring? Could it be a replica? No, this is the real thing. I've always dreamed about wearing this ring on my finger someday. Even though Father wore this on his finger, I'd know more about it than anyone else. This is Father's ring, no doubt about it. Why is it here? Then, it really was Father who wrote this letter? The sender isn't Dad. It's someone much more interesting. Then, who's the letter from? It's from the Ushiromiya family alchemist, the Golden Witch, Beatrice-sama. Rudolph showed everyone the part of the letter where that was written. It really did say that. It's from Beatrice. What's it say? I'll read it. Congratulations. I acknowledge that Balor-sama has spectacularly solved the riddle of the epitaph and reached the Golden Land. The gold belongs to him in its entirety. Furthermore, he is also the new head of the Ushinomiya family. As proof, I sent the head's ring, which Kinzo-sama left in my charge. Balor-sama, I beg that you put on this ring, become the new master of the gold, and lead the Ushinomiya family into the future. I pray with the utmost sincerity that you flourish as the new head. What the hell? I see. Dad just won't come out of his study, so Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest, has acknowledged Balor directly. Balor-kun, you should hold on to this ring. This is a special ring to be worn by the family head. I don't know who this Beatrice is, but she's watched the whole thing and sent you this ring after acknowledging you as the true successor. Is that alright? It's such an important ring. Yeah, that's fine. You should wear it proudly on your finger. Got it. Even if Aniki and Natsuhi-san tell you to take it off, you better not do it, no matter what. With creepy smiles on their faces, all of the relatives urged Balor to put the ring on his finger. It looked like things would get pretty nasty if he refused, so Balor reluctantly decided to put it on the middle finger of his left hand. The ring was heavy and stiff. At that moment, Kraus returned. Genji came back as well immediately afterwards. My apologies. It looks like my wife isn't feeling so well, so she's gone to bed early. Did something happen? You all seem incredibly flustered. Balor-sama. That. Immediately, Genji keenly spotted the thing that Balor had just put on his finger. Your eyesight's pretty good, Genji-san. Looks like you know whose ring this is. What? What are you talking about? From Kraus's questioning look, it was very difficult to imagine that he could have been the one who set the letter there. Furthermore, his expression quickly changed into one of shock. That's right. It's the ring of the Ushinomiya family head. The family conference took up this new topic, and the storm came once again. The rain was still pouring down as hard as ever. This weather was supposed to continue all day tomorrow as well, which was making me feel a bit depressed. Oh wait, given the time, that's today, not tomorrow. That doesn't really matter now. I'm sleepy. With half-asleep eyes, I opened my umbrella. The large drops of rain pounded against it mercilessly. Technically, they had called an end to the family conference at 1 a.m., but the post-match scuffles were still dragging on. I was really jealous of Aunt Rosa, who managed to slip out of there at that time. She cleverly got away by saying that she'd check on Maria, who might have been staying up too late. Thanks to Dad constantly involving me, I missed my chance to escape, and they made me stick around until now, 3 a.m. What on earth did they spend all that time deciding? Nothing got decided at all. They just kept on arguing about who said what like elementary school kids. They must be tired too. I'm sure that's why they keep dragging on with the same pointless questions. I no longer felt any shock or anger towards them. I guess no painkiller works better than drowsiness. Sorry about that. I left them behind and finally returned to the guest house. When I returned to the guest house, the lights were on in the lounge downstairs. Not only that, I could even hear people chatting inside. Apparently, some people were still awake even at this time of night. Despite the late hour, Goda-san and Dr. Nanjo were still awake and chatting. Plates and cups were lined up on the counter, and it looked almost like a bar with Goda-san as the bartender. After noticing I'd come back, it looked as though Dr. Nanjo finally realized how late it was. As Goda-san made me top off his glass. Made to top off his glass. I can read. He declined with an exaggerated gesture.
No, that's enough. It's already too late to be up.
Look how late it's gotten. You were such a good person to chat with, I hardly noticed.
Oh, no, it was your skill at entertaining that made the difference. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes, gladly. Balor-sama, welcome back. Is the discussion with Kraus-sama and the others still continuing?
The way things were going, they'll probably drag it all the way out until dawn. None of my business.
I spoke carelessly, with a big yawn. You all have more stamina than I expected. It's quite a surprise. Oh, so you were here too? Yes, a humble little night gathering had begun to form quite naturally here, so I took it upon myself to join. Don't worry, I haven't said a word about you-know-what. Erika could be seen on the sofa. She had taken her shoes off and was lounging around as though she owned the place. And you too, Erika-sama. You are very knowledgeable on a variety of subjects. I enjoyed listening to you immensely.
Your knowledge truly is extensive. Very impressive for one so young.
You're very welcome. It's merely the trivial knowledge of Furudo Erika. Erika posed by picking up the hem of her shirt. She was lounging on the sofa with her feet up, so it didn't look remotely elegant. Where's Aunt Rosa? She returned around 1 a.m., but she went straight upstairs to sleep. That was probably the right choice. She'd been going along with that conference for so long. I feel like flopping down in bed right away myself. I've had it. I'm tired enough that I might flop over right here.
Well then, let's call it a night. Don't you have to get up early tomorrow morning to make breakfast, Goda-san?
Preparations for breakfast have already been made. As always, I have full confidence that you will enjoy it greatly, so please look forward to it. In Goda-san's eyes, the family conference is an open stage on which to display his culinary skills. He's probably so pumped up, he won't even get sleepy. As she laughed at how youthful Goda was, Erika stood up. This acted as the sign that it was time to disperse. I will clean up here. Please enjoy your sleep, everyone. Leaving the cleanup to Goda-san, I went to the bathroom and then climbed the stairs to the second floor.
Good night, everyone. These old bones have stayed up a little too late.
Good night, Dr. Nanjo. Good night, Balor-san. Yeah. Night. Then, in the upstairs hallway, we split up. Dr. Nanjo went to his own room. Erika went to her room. And I returned to the cousin's room. I couldn't hear any sounds of playing coming from the cousin's room. Could they have already gone to sleep? Balor, it's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Maria's like, she's 8. 9? She's 9. It's 3 a.m. No surprise at this time of night. There you go. If they were still playing, they would have been staying up way too late. When I opened the door quietly, as expected, The room was already pitch black, except for a small nightlight. Everyone was already sleeping in their beds. I bet they all had a great time horsing around. They probably had a ton of fun staying up late and talking about their youth. If only I hadn't found the gold, I could have had fun spending time with them. I'm already tired. So tired. Forgetting even to change my clothes or brush my teeth, I crawled into bed and immediately started to sink into the marshes of sleep. Today's been so insane. I wonder if that old bastard is still in that family conference now. How does he not get tired? Come to think of it. What was it that old bastard said when we parted company?
Tomorrow, there's something important I want to talk about. As a family. It's about you.
I'm sure it's more stuff about being the successor. I do not even want to hear about it.
If I tell you about this, you're probably gonna get murdered.
I'll murder you whenever you want, old bastard. And then, what was it he said next?
It's about your birth.
My birth? Probably just something about the noble Ushirami lineage. Not interested. Just let me sleep. The sound of crashing waves. The sound of the tide surging. The noise of the sea breeze. Whenever my headache torments me, these are the sounds that fill my head. My inability to bear a successor placed me in a very difficult position within the Ushiramiya family. I tried every medication that was said to promote fertility, every incense or herb, but nothing I tried had any effect. Until I was blessed with Jessica 18 years ago, I was ashamed to even call myself a wife. The creation of a child depends on the efforts of two people and the winds of heaven. It's not fair to place all the blame on yourself. I still don't know what caused my inability to become pregnant. I even went to see noted physicians. I underwent humiliating examinations. But I was always just told that they didn't understand the reason. Even though quite some time has passed since your marriage, you still couldn't bear a child. I see. It's only natural that Ava, who secretly aspired to become the next head, would start getting ideas. Ava tried to convince father that I was a failure as a future head's wife. It was a time when Kinzo was also very disappointed in my husband's repeated business failures. On the other hand, Ava's husband Hideyoshi's business was growing well, completely the opposite of my husband's business. He was the only person who could bring father good news. In that case, perhaps there could be no blame placed on father if he decided to lend an ear to Ava's words, or even accept them without question. It was all my fault, because I couldn't bear a child. You are sinless. Aren't babies of this country carried here by storks? If anyone is to be judged, it should be the stork. Thank you. However, even though he was still in good health then, the head was already well past his prime, and it's not hard to imagine that he wanted to see his grandchildren's faces as soon as possible. Who cares? If he wanted a grandchild, he could have just done what he wanted with that appalling amount of money he had. This is Kinzo, the man who always bragged about how money could create anything. If he wanted a grandchild, why couldn't he just manage something with that money he was so proud of? That's right. The head gave up on me when I couldn't bear a child, and did just that. Thinking it the duty of anyone in possession of large amounts of money, the head gave to a lot of charities. One among these, the facility known as the Gospel House. For those who've been watching from the beginning, I believe that's Fukuin House. In the original, in the first 4 arcs. Anyway, the Gospel House had been given an especially large donation, possibly because he had old ties with that place. Ah, the Gospel House. Furniture came from that place quite often. Yeah, so this is where Kanon and Shannon came from, where they grew up. As part of their work training and public activity, the head employed Gospel House children with exceptional grades as servants. All the servants in the mansion with the character On in their names, Shannon, Kanon, Lunon, Manon, Lennon, and more besides, were children from there. There were quite a lot of them, weren't there? Though most quit after just a few years. That's probably because a few years of wages from working here would earn them more than enough to live on their own. Experience as a servant for the Ushinomiya family is a wonderful thing to add to one's resume. I'm sure it was also the head's desire for them to gain this for themselves and then spread their wings in society. I see. So, an adopted child. Father, what did you just say?
Accept this infant as my grandchild.
Oh, there. Apparently, the baby Kumasawa was trying to soothe didn't like the air in the study at all. It kept on crying as if it hated it here. And considering that it smells really bad, I'm not surprised. Smart baby. My apologies, Father. I'm not sure what you want me...
Accept this infant as my grandchild. You shall raise it to be the one who succeeds Kraus.
In other words, you want my husband and I to raise this baby as our own child?
That's right. It's clear by now that you are barren. Your body must have some sort of defect.
Oh, there. Oh, there. As though she couldn't hear our discussion in the slightest, Kumasawa kept on persistently trying to cuddle the baby. This made its crying get even louder. That's nonsense. If all the responsibility for giving birth rested with the woman, this world would have no need for men. This world would have no need for men. There we go. I've never forgotten the bitter pain I felt that day. Of course I wanted a child. But no matter how much I prayed, I couldn't get pregnant. Thinking that something to do with my body might be the cause, I went to see several famous doctors. But even so, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't become pregnant. After all that, for this to be how you were treated, I understand. The baby had been picked up by the Gospel House just recently. Of course, it wasn't that I didn't feel compassion for the child, who was so young and who had already lost its parents' affection. However, the pain and sadness I felt were far greater. It would have been another story if I had suffered to bear this child, but why did I have to cradle this baby who not only shared none of my blood, but who was not related to my husband in the slightest either? I don't hate father. If anything, I only hated my own body. I detested it. I truly detested my own body for being unable to bear a child. So I prayed. I prayed to both angels and demons, and my wishes were granted by both. Thank you, Woo Woo. I will drink some water. And I'm glad you had a really fancy lunch. There, water drank. I hope you're proud of me. Yeah, you did drop in at a very dramatic point, but that's okay. It's gonna be spoilers central though, so... Spoilers? Yeah, no, that's the thing you can say. Okay. Anyway. What did you pray to the angels? I prayed for a miracle in my body. If there was something wrong with my body, I could accept that. But I wanted to overcome that defect and somehow be granted the miracle of my husband's child. That wish came true. The next year, you gave birth to Jessica. And what did you pray to the demons? I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I cursed this body of mine. And I cursed this baby, who was the living reminder of my failure. What did you wish for? For the first time in my life, I prayed and wished to demons. I wished that this baby would simply disappear. Of course, that wish was also granted by demons. On that day, I left the baby with one of the older servants and went to think about the future in the rose garden. No, that's a lie. I just wanted to clear my mind of everything. The baby's cries were aggravating, so I ordered the servant to take the baby to a place where I couldn't hear. By a place where I couldn't hear, I meant somewhere far away. Yes, I wished. I wished for the servant to take the baby far away and never return. I see. So, a passing demon heard your wish, Natsuhi-sama. And then, what happened next? After that, was a bizarre accident that could only have been granted me by a demon. The woodland path from the rose garden to the harbor is certainly well suited for a pleasant walk. And from time to time, if the mood took you, it would undoubtedly feel good to veer off the path and take a walk through the trees. However, wouldn't that be venturing a little too far for a walk with a baby on your arms? There was a cliff on the other side. It was about 10 meters high, I think. It was rocky below. There was even a fence there. Are we to suppose that the servant deliberately walked all the way over there, holding the baby, and then leaned against the fence? The only conceivable explanation is that she was lured there by the beckoning of a demon. So, she was lured there. A demon who heard her wish lured that servant there. So then, the servant and the baby. They died. They fell from a cliff. The cliff, down to the rocks below. No, they died because I wished it. That means this is my... It isn't your fault. There's no need to think about it any further. But it happened because I wished it. No, that's wrong. Making wishes is one thing, but
It is only at the whims of gods, demons, and witches that they may be granted. You bear no sin. Humans bear no sin. You can even claim that I killed them if you so desire. No, I did kill them. I took pity upon your misery, and I lured the servant with the baby to the cliff and let them down it. It was simply an unfortunate accident. If you cannot accept that explanation, then blame it on us. That's why demons exist. That's right. We're here for your sake. It's not like you killed them. We killed them. So you are sinless. So please, don't blame yourself, Natsuhi. Is that true? Am I truly sinless? Yeah, you are. Young one who claims revenge for 19 years ago. If you're going to curse someone, curse me. However, witches have a patent on curses. Let me take on this fight you're trying to pick with Natsuhi. I am the Shinomiya family alchemist, Beatrice the Golden. If anyone picks a fight with the master I serve, I will fight in my master's stead. Revenge for 19 years ago, you say? I'll make you learn that's not even a blink of an eye for a witch who's lived 1,000 years. So, you hate Natsuhi for wishing your death 19 years ago? Let me make you remember just who it was that lured you off that cliff. As the middle-aged female servant cuddled the sobbing baby, she walked on a small path through the trees. Natsuhi had told her that the baby was too loud, so she tried to get as far from the rose garden as she could. She was completely unaware as to why she'd gone out of her way to head in this direction. However, the sobbing baby suddenly stopped crying. Something was reflected in its eyes, but the servant couldn't tell what. However, thinking that the baby had stopped because it had taken an interest in something, she headed in the direction of the baby's gaze. The baby had seen a group of gold butterflies disappearing off into the trees. And, on the other side of the trees, the servant saw a woman. Who? It was someone she didn't recognize, someone who couldn't possibly have been there. The baby stopped crying and stared in that direction. Then, the servant's legs started to automatically carry her that way. Come this way, woman. Bring that cursed baby with you. The woman couldn't disobey. She was completely overwhelmed by Beato's gold glowing eyes. She walked lightly, as though through a dream world. At some point, the scenery around her had changed, but she didn't notice. She could not notice. Though this should have been Rokkenjima, at some point, it had become the garden of a mansion she had never seen before. It was a garden that she had never seen before, even grander than the great rose garden of the Shinomiya family, a garden of gold roses. There stood an arbor, and a woman wearing an elegant dress beckoning her. There was a man who looked like a butler, and the tea he poured with a beautiful gesture had a very nice and enticing smell. It was as though they were telling her to join their tea party. She couldn't disobey. She had to go to the master of this golden rose garden and give this child as an offering. Forgive me, woman. Curse your bad luck for being entranced by a witch. And, surrounded by these gold roses, which you would never be able to enjoy in this world, sleep. Gap. Yes, understood. When Gap snapped her fingers, a pitch-black hole opened at the woman's feet, and she was swallowed up, along with the baby. The sight that the woman and the baby witnessed in the very next moment probably burned itself into their eyes forever. Whoa. The two floated in the air and looked down at the gold rose garden spread out below them. Below their feet was not the ground, but an unobstructed view of a golden rose garden which stretched as far as the eye could see. If one could have this scene imprinted in their mind as their last memory, that would be such a merciful way to die. Then, the woman and the baby were swallowed up by the golden sea. The thud was remarkably plain and remarkably quiet for the sound of two lives being taken. However, it was a perfect fit for the entertainment at a tea party of witches. Darkness swallowed the woman and the baby, and slowly expanded to engulf the entire rose garden. The sound of the wind grew stronger bit by bit. Was that TV static? What was that noise? It was the roar of the sea. The two who had died after falling from a great height into a thicket of golden roses were gradually engulfed by the roar of the sea, engulfed by the scenery of the beach below the cliff. I guarantee it. You are completely sinless. If someone wants revenge for 19 years ago, they need look no further than me. Screaming. When I spotted the two of them on the rocks below, I went pale. Then, I dashed back to the mansion, and there was a great uproar. We urgently rushed him to hospital by boat, but from that height, it was a miracle that they had even avoided an instant death. Both the servant and the baby died. In less than 3 days from the time Father had entrusted me with the baby, I had killed it. My husband was on a business trip. Rosa-san, who still lived on the island at the time, was away traveling with her friends. Father and I were the only ones on the Rokkanjima. And before anyone except Father and I knew, a baby had appeared out of nowhere, and then disappeared again. That's right, it was a dream, a nightmare. I was convinced that Father would blame me. However, his reaction was somehow strange. I saw this coming. I knew this would happen. How long must you struggle? To what lengths will you go to escape being mine? I have no interest in an empty cage. Throw it away. When Father learned of the accident, he kept on laughing and laughing as though nothing could be more amusing, to the point that just listening to him disturbed me. Perhaps something had come loose in his mind. That was the day that changed him. Father shut himself up inside the world of the occult even more than he ever had before. When my husband came back, he was astonished to see how eccentric Father had now become. However, he had already accepted that this would happen sooner or later. Of course, my husband had heard about the baby. However, he told me that it was surely just some whim of Father's, and to forget the whole episode. So I forgot it. It was an unfortunate accident. No, there wasn't an accident at all. I forgot everything, even that the baby had existed in the first place. After all, it was a twisted nightmare which lasted not even 3 days. That's right, it was all a nightmare. I don't want to remember any of it. The cliff, the broken fence, the roar of the sea. And the wailing of that baby. So, that baby is the baby of 19 years ago. Of course not. I killed that baby. It no longer exists in this world. However, there is no red truth in the human world. In the human world, nothing can be trusted. That's right. Beato, you definitely killed that baby. But in the human world, it might still be considered alive. Whether it's really alive or not. Whether it's really alive or not, catch my drift? Are you saying that it actually was alive? After falling to the rocks from that height? I don't know. But calm down. No matter how much that person hates you, the truth is that it was an accident. If he does hate you, that hatred is completely unjustified. But even if I didn't lay a finger on him, inside my heart, I... Calm down. No matter who the man from 19 years ago hates or what he yells, there's no way the sin he's after actually occurred. So calm down. Why don't I welcome the man from 19 years ago as my guest? And just when the riddle was solved and I thought my job was finished, I've got to entertain this final guest of mine. It's getting interesting. Not only are you protecting Lord Goldsmith's secret, but you also have a 19th guest and a man from 19 years ago. That's right. To us who claim that Kinzo is alive, Erika's number 19. And in addition to that 19th piece, we have a man from 19 years ago. How interesting. I'm getting all excited. We have no lack of opponents. And I was just thinking it a shame to have only one guest at my tea party. Come, you fools. Furudo Erika is Lady Burncastle's piece. In that case, whose piece is the man from 19 years ago? The voice which could faintly be overheard through the receiver was Natsuhi's. I understand. I'll sleep right now. I won't leave my room and I won't pick up the phone. So please, don't tell my husband and daughter. When heard through a receiver, even these begging screams which would have shaken the heart of anyone who heard them could be listened to with a heart of ice. As long as you keep our promise, I'll keep your secret, Mother. Don't break our promise. I'm already very close by. I can easily tell whether you've turned your lights off and whether you're on the phone. If I wish to, I could even kiss your sleeping face. I'll keep it. I'll keep my promise. So stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. The receiver was set down violently. He knew very well how bad an aftertaste you could leave for the other side just by the way you hung up the phone. Okay, good night, Mother. And there you go. Now Natsuhi won't come out of her room tonight. That's a clever trick. You can change your voice. Anyone can change their voice. A sweet voice when begging Papa for a favor. A hoarse-sounding voice when taking the day off school. An apologetic voice for when turning down a friend that you actually hate. If you want, I can do any voice. At all. Lambda, please stop. You should stop being a witch and become a voice actress. So, are all the pieces set up for us both now? For both of us now. Furudo Erika. What a wonderful piece. She suits you so much more than Anja did, Burn.
I can do any voice. Badly, but I'll give it my all. That's pretty decent, I guess. The results might not be great, but I do put in the effort most of the time. Oh boy. I forgot Erika's voice.
Your praise honors me, Lady Lambda Delta. The pleasure is mine. She really is wonderful. Super adorable. I'm dying to break her spirit with my witch illusions and see her face twist in humiliation.
The horse voice was the best, thank you.
Hear that? Don't embarrass me, okay? Show me that you're a much more useful piece than Anja was. Yes, leave it to me. Lady Burncastle, my master. I'm nothing like that gloomy, dull, utterly charmless piece. She's so right. The only useful thing that Anja did was get turned into meat chunks to fire Battler up. We have no interest at all in family love or sibling love. The game we want to see is more gruesome and sticky. A grotesque, pop and cute murder case. If Natsuhi is the king, then I wonder if Beato is the queen. The pack of witches and furniture guarding Natsuhi is less like a set of chess pieces and more like... bowling pins, right? Illusions of Natsuhi and Beato. Kinzo and the worthless furniture. Entertain us a bit, will you? Especially Beato. We're bored of you now. That Legend of the Witch murder game of yours is over. And your time is up too. This game board is Burns and mine now. It'll suit you to be reduced to one of our pieces and toyed with for all eternity. Both Natsuhi and Beato are sacks of filthy, rotten truth. Just entrails wrapped up in a thin layer of skin. Tearing that to shreds and dragging the insides out will be one of my... no. One of our few pleasures. Yes, you can have a lot of fun with it. Hey, are you watching? Beatrice? Look at how much fun can be had by playing with your board. I'll show you. A fifth game that's actually fun. It's a bit sad if we're the only ones having a pleasant chat. Why don't you let Beato talk too? Hear that? I'll give you special permission to talk. What do you hope to gain from this latest game?
Silence.
Nothing, she says. That's right, that's right. You were the loser who got crushed by Battler. Leave it to me, okay? I'll put the witch side on top in a snap. But I'm gonna be sacrificing you as a piece in the process. What a dreadful loss of face for Beatrice, keeper of the gold, to have her epitaph so easily solved before the first twilight. Isn't it great that you've been left as a piece as part of Natsuhi's fantasy? Well, except that we're treating you as a pin now instead of a piece. The Golden Witch Beatrice is out of the picture now. In my game, you and your furniture only have a teeny tiny role. A loser's role. You can enjoy getting tossed and thrown around and made into toys for me and Burn. If that's not what you want, just tell us to stop. And we'll stop. She doesn't mind. Pin confirmed.
or laughing. My god.
There's no need for a golden witch anymore. All that's needed is a sacrificial doll so that we two witches can enjoy some time playing. Die. Die. Disappear. Confess to your filthy past and your crimes. Pour out your sob story of regret and repentance as you throw yourself off a cliff and die. There will be no more appearances for the Golden Witch. Beatrice, come back, I miss you. Beato. This will be a most horrible game. On the surface, it does look very similar to the usual tales. However, there is no respect given to the true main characters of this tale. This is supposed to be the tale to which the Golden Witch Beatrice invited Ushinomiya Battler. However, the host has been lost, and there is no longer a guest. With both inviter and invitee now gone, only the worst kind of tale remains. Welcome to the 5th game. End of the Golden Witch. Welcome to a party with neither host nor guests, hijacked by wicked witches.
Ready, Battler? The second day is about to start. I hate Beato's kind of slow, plotting storytelling.
Do your worst. No matter how much you mess things up, I'm still gonna reach the truth of this game.
As you must. For the sake of your little sister, if nothing else. Don't worry. Lady Lambda Delta may be a far more terrifying opponent than that fool Beatrice. But I'll be giving you plenty of support, so there won't be any problems. Let's work together, and this time we'll expose the witch illusions for what they really are.
I don't give a damn about you. I won't accept anything or anyone that wasn't a part of Beato's games, and I don't need your help.
Is now really the time to act tough? Oh well, let's both give it our all, okay? Together, let's tear the witch illusions to shreds.
Erica brazenly put her hand out for me to shake. Instead of just passively ignoring this, I gave her an active and clear answer by knocking her hand aside.
Looks like he hates shaking hands. Just like Anje. Don't worry. I'm a far more useful piece than Anje. I'm nothing at all like shredded meat that couldn't accomplish anything besides restoring Battler Sun's fighting spirit. Isn't it great that you've been blessed with such helpful-looking allies? In the past, it was Virgilia and Ronove. Then Anji came as well. And now you have Byrne and Erica. There are so many pieces supporting you. And despite all of that, you still can't even get a glimpse of the truth. How does it feel to be that incompetent?
How does it feel? It doesn't matter. This battle is between me and Beato. Everyone else besides us doesn't matter.
Oh, is that true? Are you finally standing on your own? You've always had someone helping you or showing you mercy, so I wonder just how far you'll get on your own. I'm gonna enjoy watching this.
I'm taking it back. This is our game. You two aren't invited.
Yes, that's true. This is your game. Then show us you're capable of reclaiming it. You couldn't even win Beato's games when she went easy on you at every turn. Show us how far you can take Lambda's completely ruthless game, without anyone's help. Now, awaken, Ushinomiya Battler. Welcome to the morning of October 5th.
perfect timing. Actually, perfect timing. It is now 2 minutes past midnight in real life. And that means that next week, we'll be finding out what happens on October 5th in End of the Golden Witch. I already know. It's, oh boy. You are not going to be prepared for what happens in this episode, let me tell you. It's even called Morning of Tragedy, but I mean, that's to be expected with this game, you know, track record and all that, but oh boy. I've caught up again. Nice. That's perfect. Yeah. We're gonna continue next week. I'll get the video up as soon as possible, and, you know, the usual. Also, thank you for the save reminder. I just hit the button again, even though I already saved. I'm just closing the game up real quick, and, you know, starting off some tunes. Let's go with this one. Yes, so thank you guys for watching, as always. I appreciate it so much. Every Wednesday I look forward to this. I was really bummed out when I was too sick to stream last week. And, you know, the Monday streams have been a bit like, I don't know what to do sometimes. You know, random games streaming is hard. Streaming random games is difficult. Sometimes you're not vibing with a game, or you don't know what to play, and having to come up with something new every week, ugh. But the Umineko streams, I don't know, I look forward to it. And it's always so great to have people drop by in the chat, or to just see that occasionally people like actually click on the links and view the VODs and stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it. Kat, that's what I'm thinking. Once I finish this, I'm just gonna continue with another visual novel, and then hopefully maybe something that's new to me as well. That would be cool. So yeah, and I'm glad you had a little bit of time to catch up, because I don't want to like spoil it for you, you know. But yeah. It's gonna be a while before we finish the series, because I have to be up early on Thursdays nowadays, so I can't stream as long. So all the episodes are now 2 hours max, which yeah, that's just how it's gonna be for a while. So that means that overall finishing the series is gonna take more than a year, but it is worth it. There's so much good stuff coming up. It's gonna be so cool, so interesting, and yeah, 2 hours of stream, that's a decent time. I don't mind that at all. And so far, we've been super lucky with, you know, stopping points. So maybe 2 hours is just like the magic number for streaming this. I guess we'll find out. But yes. Seriously, the next few episodes are gonna be wild. This whole arc is wild in the best way. You're gonna enjoy it. So, yeah. If you want, come back next Wednesday and, prepare to be amazed. And I don't say that lightly either. Alright, so probably back on Monday with a game stream, but I don't know what yet, so who knows? Maybe I'll just do some VR painting again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Then next week, on Wednesday, more Umineko. Same time as always. Thank you again for watching. And I
hope you have a great day, great evening, great week. And see you next time. Bye bye.